Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today, you know what? We're talking about bugs.
Bugs, really?
Yeah, bugs. Specifically, we're diving into the kind of the scary idea of the insect apocalypse.
Ooh, that sounds ominous.
Yeah, and thankfully, we've got some pretty amazing research from the Insectarium of Montreal, specifically their project Antenna. They're using AI to study insect populations.
So we have a global problem and a potential high-tech solution. Sounds like a good deep dive to me.
It is. And you know what? We had a listener write in with some really fascinating articles, and they detail how dire the situation is. Like we're talking about 1,000 times faster than previous extinction events.
1,000 times faster.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
It's a bit concerning, I have to say, but it is intriguing. It's issue that we all kind of notice.
Yeah.
Anecdotally, like we've all heard of the windshield phenomenon. The windshield phenomenon where people are just like, oh yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I used to have to clean bugs off my windshield all the time. And now you don't see as many. But until this project, we've lacked the concrete data to really understand the decline.
I see. So I'm looking at the articles here, and they're saying that Antenna is using AI and cameras to identify and count insects, specifically moths. But how does that actually work? I mean, it's not like they're out there with butterfly nets, right?
Well, no, they're actually using camera traps. So these traps, they're triggered by light, they attract moths, and then a computer vision algorithm, it analyzes the unique wing patterns of each moth and creates a database of moth fingerprints.
Wait. So the AI isn't actually like seeing the moths in the way that we do. It's using these like unique wing patterns.
Exactly. It's comparing it to a massive database and learning to tell the difference between even the tiniest of variations between different species of moths.
That's crazy. And how many of these camera traps are there set up?
Well, the project's actually global. They've got stations set up across every continent except Antarctica.
Every continent. Wow.
Yeah, and they're collecting millions of data points each season from these stations. Like one station in Quebec, for example, can observe something like 2 million insects per season.
2 million.
Yeah.
That's more insects than I've probably seen in my entire life.
And that's just at one station. That's a lifetime's worth of data for an entomologist right there.
That's wild. Okay, but this is more than just data collection, right?
Yeah.
What are we actually learning from all this information?
One of the most, exciting and unexpected findings came from a test run in the Panama rainforest.
Oh,
They photographed 300 moth species that were completely unknown to science.
what? 300 brand new species. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really opened our eyes to what scientists are calling dark diversity. It's this huge world of undiscovered species that we don't know anything about.
Dark diversity. That's
Uh-oh.
that's kind of a poetic term, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So Antenna has the potential to unveil this whole hidden dimension of biodiversity.
It's amazing, but I have to ask, why should the average person like me care about moths disappearing?
Well, moths, like many other insects, play a crucial role in the ecosystem. They're pollinators, they're a food source for other animals, and they contribute to the overall health of the environment.
I never thought of it that way. So the decline of moths isn't just sad for the moths, it could have a ripple effect on everything.
Exactly. Understanding these insect populations is key to understanding our planet, and Antenna is giving us the tools to do just that.
It's almost like having this real-time health monitor for the entire planet.
Yeah, it's an incredibly powerful tool. And while we're on the topic of great resources, have you heard about Le Podcast de Philippe?
I have actually great podcasts. They cover all sorts of interesting topics, and I highly recommend checking them out on YouTube.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so back to Antenna. The articles our listener shared suggest it could actually revolutionize conservation efforts, right?
Absolutely. Imagine being able to pinpoint exactly where conservation efforts are having the biggest impact, or identifying specific pesticides that are harmful to beneficial insects, like bees. This data could be incredibly valuable for protecting ecosystems.
So it's not just monitoring, it's taking that information and applying it to real-world action.
Precisely. The more we learn about insect populations, the better equipped we'll be to protect them.
It makes me think, if they can do this with moths, what other possibilities are out there? I mean, the articles hinted that Antenna could be adapted to study other insect groups, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like bees, beetles, butterflies. The diversity of insect antenna is just just incredible.
Mm.
Each species has these antennae adapted to their specific needs.
It's almost like each species has its own unique set of tools.
Exactly. The challenge, of course, is developing the algorithms to be able to recognize and differentiate these unique antennae.
That sounds incredibly complex.
It is, but it's also incredibly exciting. Imagine being able to track bee populations in real time, understanding their movements, protecting their habitats.
Yeah, it's like having a Google Maps for bees. That would be incredibly valuable, not just for conservation, but for agriculture, for our entire food supply.
It would revolutionize our understanding of these essential pollinators.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities.
Yeah,
It also makes me realize how much more research and innovation is needed in this field.
absolutely. We need to keep pushing the boundaries, keep exploring, keep learning. Projects like Antenna are essential for that.
And while all this high-tech stuff is amazing, it's important to remember that individual actions matter too, right? Like planting insect-friendly gardens, reducing our pesticide use. These things can all have a positive impact.
You're absolutely right. It's a collective effort. We all have a part to play.
Well said. This deep dive into the world of antenna has been incredibly insightful. It's shown us the power of technology to understand the natural world, but also the importance of our own actions in protecting it.
It's been a pleasure exploring this with you. We've only just scratched the surface, though. There's so much more to uncover. Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's great to be back, and I'm, eager to delve deeper into this whole antenna project and what it's teaching us about insect populations.
Before the break, we were talking about individual action. What can we do to help?
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the problem, but even those small changes we can make in our own backyards, they really can have a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And speaking of individual actions, we really have to give credit to the entomologists out there, the ones who are driving this research forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're the ones dedicating their lives to understanding these creatures that, often get overlooked. And antenna is giving them this amazing tool to really advance their work.
The articles you shared, they really highlighted just how much data antenna can collect. It's astonishing.
It really is. It's like millions of insects in a single season. Observed, identified, cataloged. It's almost like having a Google Earth for the insect world.
And this data, it's not just sitting there, it's actually being used to answer crucial questions about insect populations.
Like what?
Well, for example, the impact of climate change.
Right, right.
As temperatures rise, as weather patterns shift, insect populations are being impacted in ways that we are only just beginning to understand. And
Yeah.
antenna could provide these vital insights into, how different species are adapting, migrating, maybe even disappearing.
It's like we have this front row seat to this ecological drama that's unfolding all around us.
And this knowledge it's absolutely essential for developing effective conservation strategies. I mean, we can't protect what we don't understand.
Okay, that makes sense. The articles also mention how antennas data could be used to improve agricultural practices.
Yeah, that's a huge area with with a lot of potential. Like imagine being able to identify the farming practices that are actually most beneficial to pollinators, like bees.
Yeah.
We could create a food system that's much more sustainable and resilient.
It's a win-win for everyone involved, the farmers and the environment.
Exactly. And it all comes back to that core principle of antenna, right? Data-driven decision making. The more we know, the better equipped we are to protect the natural world.
One thing that really stuck with me from the articles was this concept of dark diversity. It's such a striking term.
It is, isn't it? It's a powerful reminder that we've only just begun to scratch the surface of understanding, the true extent of life on Earth.
Like 300 new moth species
Yeah.
in a single rainforest. It just blows my mind. What other secrets are out there just waiting to be discovered?
That's the beauty of science, right? There's always more to learn, always more to explore.
And that sense of wonder and discovery, it's what makes all of this so exciting.
Speaking of exciting discoveries, I have to ask, any interesting guests on Le Podcast de Philippe lately?
Oh, absolutely. I actually had a fascinating conversation recently with a researcher who's studying ant communication patterns.
Ants, really?
Yeah. They have this incredibly complex social structure, and they use all sorts of these chemical signals to communicate. It's like a secret language that, we're only just beginning to decipher.
That sounds fascinating. I'll have to check that episode out.
Yeah, you should. So getting back to antenna, we've talked about its potential for conservation, its ability to uncover these new species, its role in helping us understand the impact of climate change.
Hmm.
But there's another aspect that I think is important to explore as well, and that's the ethical consideration.
Ah, yes. That's an important point. With any powerful technology, we need to be mindful of how it's being used and the potential implications.
For example, the articles they mention how the data collected by antenna it could be used to track the movements of endangered species.
Right.
And while this could be really valuable for conservation efforts, it also raises concerns about privacy, and the potential for misuse of this information.
Yeah, you're right. It's crucial that we have these open and transparent discussions about the ethical guidelines surrounding the use of this technology.
We need to make sure that antennas is being used responsibly and ethically with the best interests of both insects and humans at heart.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that technology, it is a tool, and it's up to us to use it wisely.
Well said. This deep dive into the world of antenna has been incredibly thought-provoking. It's shown us the power of technology to unlock the secrets of the natural world, but it's also reminded us of our own responsibility to use that knowledge wisely and ethically.
I couldn't agree more. And as we wrap up this second part, I'm left wondering what other innovations are on the horizon that could further revolutionize our understanding of insects.
Uh,
Welcome back to the deep dive. It's exciting to think about, all the possibilities that lie ahead with this technology.
yeah, absolutely. Before the break, we were discussing the ethical considerations, and specifically that potential for misuse of data.
Yeah, it's definitely a valid concern with any powerful technology. I mean, we need to be, really vigilant in establishing those safeguards and ethical guidelines from the beginning.
For sure, transparency and responsible use are just so crucial. It's not just about collecting data, it's about ensuring that it's used for the right purposes.
The articles really emphasize the importance of collaboration, like
Mm.
between scientists, policymakers, and conservationists.
Yeah, that's key. This isn't just an academic exercise. This is about translating that research into real world action.
Exactly. And antennas data, it really has the potential to inform conservation efforts, guide policy decisions, maybe even inspire new technologies.
It's true. Imagine using this data to create these targeted conservation strategies or to develop more sustainable agricultural practices.
It really could revolutionize how we manage our natural resources.
And it also highlights the need for public education and awareness.
Oh, for sure. We need to engage the public in this conversation about insect decline and the importance of conservation.
Yeah, the more people understand those vital roles that insects play in our ecosystems, the more likely we are to take action to protect them.
Absolutely. And speaking of action, I'm curious, what are your thoughts on what individuals can do, to help?
Well, even small changes can make a difference, like creating insect-friendly gardens in our backyards, reducing pesticide use, supporting organizations that are dedicated to conservation. Those are all great places to start.
Yeah, those are excellent suggestions. It's a good reminder that we all have a role to play in protecting the biodiversity of our planet.
This deep dive into the world of antenna has been really eye-opening.
It really has. It's shown us just how powerful technology can be in helping us unlock those secrets of the insect world, but also, it's reminded us of our responsibility to use that knowledge wisely and ethically.
I hope our listeners are feeling as inspired as I am to learn more, and to take action.
Me too. It's been a pleasure exploring these topics with you.
Before we sign off, I want to remind everyone to subscribe to Le Podcast de Philippe on YouTube, for more insightful conversations just like this.
It's a fantastic resource for anyone who's curious about the world around us.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious about the wonders of the natural world.